There is one word that sums up the work of this Stoic session: fortification. It is not a wall of coldness nor an armor that separates you from the world. It is the conscious construction of an inner citadel where your judgment governs and your attention obeys your purpose. When you react to every noise, the keys to that city are in other people's hands. When you choose to respond, they return to your belt. This journey will propose 10 rules to fortify your mind without turning it into stone. You will raise walls of discernment, install gatekeepers, organize your resources of attention, and train yourself in small latencies so that reason speaks before impulse. Fortifying the mind is not about suspecting everything. It is about examining the door through which almost everything enters. Impressions. Epictetus taught to stop them before giving assent. Stop, impression. Let me see you as you really are. That gesture is the first lock on the gate. Marcus Aurelius, tired of his own noise, asked himself to describe things in their nature without embellishment. In this way, he removed the mask of constant threat from the world and made it workable. Seneca warned that time slips away into the hands of others when we let the urgent override the important, ordering that hierarchy will be part of the fortification. You need a fortress to live open without bleeding out, not to close yourself off. A lucid citadel has windows, not trenches. Accept the light of truth and reject the haze that poisons. That is why to fortify is not to harden, but to become porous with judgment. You come into contact with what is valuable and filter out the trash that erodes your reason. The practical rule is simple. Every stimulus must declare itself useful or harmless. If it is harmful to your virtue, it does not enter. It is not neurotic censorship. It is hygiene. Just as you wash your hands, you wash your attention. In this episode, we will train in concrete acts. You will name a gatekeeper who asks before you consume, does this nourish my reason or does it erode it? You will practice stimulus fasting to lower noise and recover inner control. You will write down 3 visible values and use them as a compass for decisions. You will reorder your environment so that temptation is slower than your purpose. You will establish mandatory emotional latency so that impulse does not ruin what cost you so much to build. You will make a list of non-exposure, install a guard of sleep, manage your economy of attention, and clarify your loyalties. 10 rules, 1 intention, that your mind belongs to you. The digital world is not the enemy, but without governance it becomes a looter. Notifications, headlines, and opinions knock on the door like noisy merchants. You decide whether to turn the market into a public square with rules or into an alley where anyone shouts. Fortifying the mind is legislating the entrance and the trade of ideas. It is not isolation, it is establishing customs. From that order arises a strange freedom. You no longer need to cough to exist, nor burn to feel alive. It is enough to inhabit your purpose with the serenity of someone who knows what serves his life and what does not. This fortification requires the body in your favor. A fatigued mind surrenders quickly. Sleeping on time, moving the body, hydrating, and breathing through the nose as a first resource lower the baseline noise so reason can operate. The citadel is not only built with ideas, it is sustained with rhythms. That is why we will speak of the schedule that protects the last hour of the day, of the light you soften, of the phone that stays outside, of the short routine that closes the day like the gates of the wall. There is an inescapable moral dimension. To fortify the mind without choosing values is to raise walls without a map. Your 3 visible values will be the compass filtering conversations, decisions, and information. Justice to treat the other without humiliating. Temperance so as not to become hostage to your appetites. Prudence to choose the moment and the measure. Courage will appear as an honor guard when it is time to set limits. The environment will not understand. If you know what you serve, you will know what to reject. You may stumble upon 2 extremes. One is rigidity that becomes a mask. It isolates you, it dries you out, it confuses fortification with arrogance. The other is laxity that hands the gate to the first who knocks. It scatters you, irritates you, confuses sensitivity with fragility. Our path is flexible firmness. High walls and gates that open with judgment. If a stimulus brings truth, it enters. If it brings poison, it stays outside. If it brings beauty and rest, it enters to the extent that it nourishes your life. It is not about living on the defensive, but about living on the offensive of the essential. Those who guard their minds do not hide. They offer themselves better. Someone with a clear citadel works with more focus, loves with more presence, converses with less noise, and suffers with less theatre. They do not avoid what is difficult. They face it with tools that reduce collateral damage. That is why fortifying your mind does not take away your humanity. It gives it back. The training will be simple to describe and demanding to practice. The citadel is raised with daily bricks, not proclamations. One block in the morning when you choose your compass of values, another at noon when you sustain monofocus, another in the afternoon when you install the guard of sleep. Cracks are detected with humility and repaired without drama. If one day you yield, you do not tear down the wall, you return to the work. There will be resistance. Your ego will ask for noise to feel important. Your anxiety will demand screens for relief. Your habit will prefer autopilot. But the soul quickly recognizes the gain. More air, more clarity, more dignity. Fortifying your mind is not about being right. It is about having governance. That difference is felt in the peace with which you close the day and in the sobriety with which you open the morning. I want you to carry with you an image, a sentinel standing at the gate, without aggression or sleep, with a lamp in hand. He does not shout, does not argue, does not get distracted. He asks and decides. Sometimes he invites in, sometimes he makes wait, sometimes he denies entry with firm courtesy. That sentinel is you when you remember that between what you see and what you accept, there is an act of freedom. Before we begin, I want you to declare your commitment by leaving in the comments, "From today, my mind does not surrender to reaction." That phrase will be a reminder that you are here to fortify your inner citadel, not to give away your peace to the first impulse. This is the moment to prove to yourself that you can govern your attention, protect your serenity, and choose your responses with dignity. Without further preamble, we begin. First Stoic rule: raise your inner citadel. Imagine your mind as a city in which you have chosen to live with dignity. A city without walls is at the mercy of any noisy gang. A city closed too tightly suffocates and dies of its own rigidity. Raising your inner citadel means creating lucid contours, a perimeter that separates not from the world, but from chaos. Marcus Aurelius demanded of himself a continuous return to inner governance. Return to yourself, he said. There is a fountain there. That fountain is the central courtyard of the fortress. A citadel begins by knowing its layout. Draw your day as a map, gates of entry, squares where you converse, workshops where you produce, areas of rest. Which gates are wide open? Which areas are in constant noise? Where is there a lack of light and an excess of traffic? Looking at the plan, you will see that the problem is not the world, but the absence of design. The fortress is not improvised. It is planned calmly. Raising walls is not about erecting barriers against people. It is about building habits that protect your judgment. A wall is the discipline of language that names facts before opinions. A wall is the decision not to respond under adrenaline. A wall is the kind boundary that declines conversations when your body is exhausted. A wall is the silence you give yourself before a difficult message. These walls are porous and alive. They rise or fall depending on the moment and the place. The first block is clarity. Name with precision what you are defending, your attention, your purpose, your peace. Without that north, any brick will seem like a prison. Epictetus reminded us that freedom rests in wanting what depends on us. Your citadel is sustained on processes, not on the results of others. If you raise walls to protect your image, you will end up imprisoned by opinion. If you raise them to protect your virtue, you will feel light. The second block is height. From the rooftop you see the caravans of ideas approaching, asking to come in. Some bring useful goods, others smoke and mirrors. Height allows you to distinguish without fear. Seneca advised stripping things of their theatricality to see their true measure. When you reduce a gesture to its nature, the gate stops moving from shock and opens by judgment. The third block is the moat. A moat does not prevent passage, it makes it conscious. Your moat is the brief pause that separates stimulus from assent. 3 breaths, a sip of water, a minute standing by the window. That small void strips impulse of its privileges and gives reason time to appear. The moat does not humiliate the visitor, it protects the inhabitants. The 4th block is the gate with law. Every civilized city has rules of access. Yours will be simple. What does not nourish virtue does not enter. If content erodes your temperance or inflames your vanity in a toxic way, it stays outside. If a conversation repeatedly diverts you from your purpose, it is scheduled with boundaries or dismissed with respect. If a habit weakens your judgment, it is replaced. You are not a capricious guard. You are the steward of a common good, your life. There will be those who mistake your citadel for arrogance. It is not. It is hospitality with judgment. Those who come with truth find open doors and rest. Those who come with noise find kindness and measure. Those who come with poison encounter a wall that does not hate, it only protects. Marcus Aurelius wrote that no one forces you to have an immediate opinion. Your citadel gives that freedom a home. Building the fortress requires everyday materials, tidying your desk before starting, clearing your inbox at a set time, leaving your phone away while eating, walking without headphones so ideas arise, breathing low when the tide rises. These acts are bricks and mortar. They seem small until one day you realize you are no longer swept away by the first shout of the marketplace. The most subtle enemy will be haste. You will want to build everything in a day and end up tired of yourself. The citadel demands steady constancy. One row in the morning, another in the afternoon, another at night. You will celebrate invisible walls, the one of not responding, the one of postponing, the one of asking. Each timely renunciation is a firm stone. Each sober yes is wood that does not creak. Allow yourself to inspect cracks. No wall is perfect, and yours will not be either. Sometimes the downpour will enter through neglect. Sometimes a gate will be left poorly closed. Do not dramatize. Note it, correct it, learn. Seneca invited us to keep a ledger of the soul. There you will record your advances and your slips with honesty. That record prevents self-deception and strengthens your stewardship. When the citadel stands, you will notice discreet fruits. In conversations, your voice does not compete with inner shouts. At work, your hands find flow because attention stops fragmenting. In love, you listen more because you no longer have to guard the gate with sword in hand. You do not become hard, you become available. That is well-achieved fortification, firmness that allows tenderness. If someone calls from the past with old stories that used to ignite you, you will see the sentinel step forward. He will ask, verify, decide. What was once invasion is now an announced visit. What was once looting is now fair trade. What was once exhaustion is now a noble tiredness from worthy work. The fortress does not separate you from the world. It positions you better before it. End this day with a ritual gesture. Walk the perimeter with gratitude. Thank the gate you closed with respect, the moat that saved you from a reaction, the window you opened to breathe, the rooftop from which you reframed. That gratitude is not sentimentalism, it is maintenance. A city that gives thanks takes care. A mind that takes care sleeps better. And at dawn, when the marketplace makes noise again, you will remember that you already have a house from which to decide. Second Stoic rule, name the gatekeeper. Before consuming anything, you need a gatekeeper at the door. This gatekeeper does not shout or judge with arrogance. It asks a simple, illuminating question. Does this nourish my reason or erode it? Naming it gives it operational power in your daily life. When no one watches, what makes the most noise comes in. When the gatekeeper exists, what serves virtue comes in. Epictetus taught to examine impressions before giving assent. Your gatekeeper is that examination made habit. Much of what you consume is not malice, it is dispersion. They are crumbs of attention that steal your best hours. The gatekeeper does not demonize, it discriminates. It recognizes whether what lies before you strengthens your temperance, sharpens your prudence, inspires your courage, or widens your sense of justice. If it touches none of those fibers, it is harmless and can wait. If it erodes them, it stays out. If it strengthens them, it enters with invitation. For the gatekeeper to work, give it visible criteria. Write 3 questions and post them where you look daily. Does it make me better? Does it bring me closer to my end? Will it withstand being seen tomorrow? If 2 answers are no, the door closes politely. If you hesitate, the gatekeeper grants latency. You will see it again in an hour. That delay dismantles the spell of immediacy. Seneca said that few things press us as much as we believe. Almost everything tolerates waiting. Questions are not enough. You need protocols. Define entry windows for emails, messages, and social networks. Outside those windows, the gatekeeper rests and the citadel works. When everything can break in at any time, no one governs. By assigning schedules, the gatekeeper stops being a capricious policeman and becomes a manager of flows. Marcus Aurelius ordered his day with clear duties. Imitate him at your scale. The gatekeeper also regulates conversations. There are topics that intoxicate your judgment and people who exploit your peace. You don't need enmity, you need strategic distance and honest limits. The gatekeeper can offer alternatives, speak at another time, set time limits, move the dialogue to a more sober medium. The goal is not to win arguments, it is to protect your instrument of thought and will. Train the gatekeeper with short exercises. Before opening an app, repeat quietly the motto, fact first, opinion after. When you see a flashy headline, ask yourself, what fact lies beneath the noise? If you find no fact, don't give it your pulse. When receiving a message that hurts, breathe, save it, respond later. The gatekeeper is not a censor. It is a mediator between what happens to you and what you choose. Take care not to turn the gatekeeper into a tyrant. If everything becomes suspicious, you will have built yourself an elegant prison. Healthy vigilance allows in useless beauty that rests, humor that lightens, stories that widen horizons. The criterion is dosage. Epictetus did not advocate dryness, but the excellent use of your faculties. Excellence includes rest and play when they nourish your humanity. Evaluate with the body. If after consuming something you are left accelerated, cynical, or dejected, the gatekeeper takes note. If you end clearer, calmer, or more willing to act well, it notes that too. Reason uses these signals. The citadel thinks with head and with skin. When you make your body an ally, the gatekeeper gains senses that do not lie. Remember, the gatekeeper protects time, because time is life in installments. Every minute you give to the irrelevant, you take away from an act that would build you. This is not obsession, it is respect. Seneca shook us, saying we are not as stingy with money as with time, and that it is the only good where the loss is irrevocable. Your gatekeeper guards that wealth. When you fail, don't insult yourself. Sometimes noise will sneak in through a crack. Close it calmly, clean, learn. Prolonged shame is another form of distraction. The gatekeeper that serves does not humiliate, it corrects and moves on. Marcus Aurelius asked himself to start anew as many times as necessary. The citadel matures because it accepts failure without theater and returns to work. Give your gatekeeper a face if it helps you. It could be the version of you that you respect most, the teacher who would speak to you soberly, the friend who reminds you of your worth when you are lost. Name it in the present. I am here. When you invoke it, your tone changes. The rush drops, judgment becomes fairer, the door less fragile. It is an operative fiction that produces real results. Over time, you will no longer need to repeat so many questions. The gatekeeper will have trained your hands to open what adds and close what subtracts. Your feed will be a tended garden. Your talks will have fewer ruins. Your night will close without acidic residue. That cleanliness is not Puritanism, it is mental ecology. Shielding is not hardening, it is preserving what allows you to love and work with greatness. And if someone ever tells you that you exaggerate, remember the cost of exposure without compass, reactions that break bridges, decisions made in fire, days evaporated in soulless screens. Guarding the door is a form of love for the people around you. You offer them your best attention, not your scraps. Epictetus would smile. You have put to your service what depends on you. At the close of this day, thank the gatekeeper for the entries well granted and for the exits avoided. Thank it even for doubts, because they force you to think. That gratitude anchors the practice and makes it natural. Tomorrow the door will open again, and you will choose again. In that silent repetition, the citadel that will hold you in stormy days is built. Third Stoic rule: practice stimulus fasting. Shielding your mind is not only about what you allow in, but also about what you decide not to consume for periods of time in favor of your inner governance. Stimulus fasting is a window without noise, so the system can recover. It is not digital misanthropy nor contempt for novelty. It is physiology and practical ethics. When you turn off the cascade, the voice that matters returns. Marcus Aurelius sought moments of retreat even while on campaign. He was not fleeing the world, he was tuning his instrument to serve better. Start with short blocks, 15 to 30 minutes without screens or notifications, 2 or 3 times a day. The goal is not to prove virtue, but to lower the threshold of reactivity. Epictetus insisted that freedom is exercised. Each fast is a repetition of the muscle that resists what pulls at you. At first your hand will itch, then good curiosity will itch, the kind that looks around you and re-inhabits the body. During the fast, restore dignity to basic activities. Walk without headphones so the mind completes cycles. Drink water attentively, as if watering your own garden. Look far through a window to relax your sight, and remember that the world does not fit into a screen. Write down 2 ideas and 1 intention on paper. That humble materiality disconnects you from the carousel of external rewards. Design your environment so the fast is possible. Remove notifications, place the phone far away, set do not disturb times, clear your desk. The right architecture reduces the willpower needed. Seneca advised avoiding temptations that exceed our resistance, not because we are weak, but because we are intelligent. Shielding is making what is right easier. If you work with screens, the fast does not seek to sabotage your craft. It seeks to separate consumption from production. You open windows of deep work and windows of review. In the work windows, 1 single task and a gentle clock. In the review windows, you process messages with criteria. This alternation makes the endless stroll through infinite stimuli less appealing. The mind thanks rhythms with beginning and end. Notice what happens on the 3rd day of practice. Baseline noise drops half a notch, sleep comes with less negotiation, conversations lose anxiety. It is not magic, it is biology under governance. Dopamine stops rioting and returns to its course. Pleasure becomes sharper because it is no longer in constant saturation. You are surprised by beauty in the simple things you once missed because you were overstimulated. Stimulus fasting reveals what you are addicted to: novelty, approval, drama, gossip, workers' escape. Do not punish yourself for it. Take note. Marcus Aurelius wrote down his weaknesses with honesty without turning them into condemnation. That sober accounting allows you to adjust precisely. Less exposure to what drags you down, more exposure to what builds you. Integrate the fast with breathing. In the first minute, 3 slow nasal breaths. In the second minute, a direction question: what will I do next? In the third minute, choose a brief physical gesture: stretch, tidy, drink water. In 5 minutes, your internal field has already shifted and you are ready to create or to converse without carrying quicksand in your head. Avoid turning the fast into posturing. You do not announce to the world that you are on detox. You do not dramatize if you fail. You do not despise those who remain connected. You simply return. Your citadel does not need a closed for renovation sign. It needs sentinels who do their shift discreetly. The result shows in you, not in your speech. Adjust the dose to your days. On high-demand days, 2 short blocks may save you. On study days, you may need long blocks of silence. On family days, the fast may be an hour without a phone at the table. The end is not rigid. It is consistent with what you love. Epictetus would say, "Use what befalls you to act well." Write down discoveries. When do these fasts return the most focus to you? What temptations appear at minute 7? What excuses does your mind whisper to run away? By writing it down, the mechanism loses power. Next time you will recognize the face of the inner saboteur and smile when you see it arrive. That smile is a sign your inner governance is improving. If anxiety presses when closing the screen, allow the tremor without giving in. Walk a little, shake your shoulders, breathe low, look at the sky. The body sought a hit, you will not give it, and it will complain. Though it sounds paradoxical, that small discomfort is good news. You are untangling a habit that had you on the leash. Be kind and firm at the same time. You will see side benefits. Your speech becomes less reactive, your work more efficient, your rest more real. Music regains nuance, reading becomes possible again, presence with others stops being an empty courtesy and becomes a choice. Small pleasures increase in value because you no longer consume them overstimulated. The world regains depth. Lastly, use fasting to remember your greater loyalty. You are not leaving things out on a whim. You are leaving them out to let in what you have decided to serve. Your virtue, your craft, your family. Memento mori gives this practice its rightful gravity. Time is short. You do not want to spend your life on reactions that leave no trace. You want to build a citadel where serenity has a home. When you close your eyes tonight, review it with tenderness. Was there enough silence to hear your purpose? Was there relief for your system? Was there a conversation saved by not answering at the first call? If the answer is yes in a single line, your fast was worth it. Tomorrow you will repeat, not to be perfect, but to be master of yourself in a world that pushes. That is the generosity of shielding your mind. It returns you to yourself so you can give yourself better to others. 4th Stoic rule, use a compass of visible values. A compass of visible values is a navigation tool for cloudy days. It is not enough to say you value truth, justice, or temperance. You need to write them down, look at them, and use them as a filter. A sailor does not consult the stars from memory. He lifts his gaze every night. So too must you. When noise confuses, your compass returns you to course. Marcus Aurelius did it in his own way by reminding himself each morning that he was born to cooperate with others and to act according to reason. That reminder, repeated without ceremony, steadied his spirit and returned the rudder of the day. Choose 3 guiding values and give them a home on your desk, in your notebook, or on your lock screen. It is not superstition, it is moral ergonomics. When they are visible, judgment is ordered. If your triangle contains justice, prudence, and temperance, any proposal that humiliates, rushes, or overflows is excluded by definition. Seneca insisted that for one who does not know to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. The compass defines the port, and suddenly the weather ceases to be an enemy and becomes a matter of governance. Using the compass will not make you rigid, it will make you predictable to yourself and reliable to others. If your team knows you filter by honesty, the dubious shortcut ceases to be an option. If your family perceives you filter by presence, the screen loses priority to a conversation. If you yourself remember you filter by sobriety, the impulse to respond with irony is delayed. Epictetus advised asking what role we are meant to play in each scene. The compass turns that role into operational criteria, not dependent on the mood of the moment. Turn the compass into questions. Does this decision honor justice or only give me the upper hand? Does this answer express temperance or only discharge my tension? Does this deadline demonstrate prudence or only soothe my anxiety? Asking this way does not paralyze, it clarifies. The compass does not ask for sainthood. It asks for enough coherence so that, when you sleep, you need not negotiate with your conscience. Sleeping well is a frequent reward for those who consult their needle before speaking. The usefulness of the compass increases when you connect it with your ends. Write next to each value the projects, relationships, and habits in which it should be embodied. Justice, distribution of work, honest recognition, respectful feedback. Temperance, rest schedules, screen limits, economy of words when the atmosphere heats up. Prudence, meetings at the right time, conscious pauses before decisions, sober preparation before difficult conversations. The compass comes down from the wall and into your hands. Do not confuse the compass with dogma. If a situation requires creativity, your values do not chain you, they guide you. Prudence is not fear of deciding, it is the art of choosing the moment and the measure. Temperance is not apathy, it is strength that manages its energy. Justice is not elegant revenge, it is the pursuit of the good of the whole. The compass reminds you of these definitions when the environment offers convenient but impoverished ones. There will be days when the compass seems to contradict the urgency of your boss, the current of opinion, or the whim of your own ego. There, your loyalty to your citadel is tested. Marcus Aurelius told himself he would rather lose glory than lose honesty, because glory did not depend on him and honesty did. Choosing against what glitters spares you intimate defeats. The compass does not remove cost, it removes regret. For it to be truly visible, give it language that speaks to you. Write short phrases you like to say softly. Justice, I treat the other without humiliation. Temperance, I do not give my voice to the first impulse. Prudence, I choose the when and the how. Recite them 2 or 3 times a day, like one tuning an instrument. It is not empty ritual, it is calibration. A violin out of tune still plays, but it wounds. A conscience out of tune still decides, but it harms. Record with humility when you ignore your compass. No one lives without deviations. Note them as a pilot correcting course. Today I chose speed over quality. Today I granted a favor that contradicted justice. Today I exceeded in words, not to flog yourself, but to learn. Seneca recommended a nightly review that is kind yet exact. That daily check prevents the compass from becoming a decorative poster and returns it to its task, pointing out practicable furrows. Use the compass to say no with elegance. When asked for something that violates your triangle, you do not need a sermon, you need clarity. Say no supported by the right value. Out of justice I cannot, out of temperance I must not, out of prudence it is not wise. This way not only protects you, it educates those around you. People learn how to treat you because they see you treat yourself with respect. Allow the compass also to open you to what you avoided. Perhaps out of prudence misunderstood you postponed decisions that required courage. Perhaps out of temperance turned rigidity you avoided honest enjoyment. Perhaps out of justice deformed into hyper-demand you confused truth with cruelty. The compass not only closes doors, it opens windows. The compass does not invent paths, it reveals them. Support the compass with finitude. Memento mori gives weight to your choices. When you remember time is short, coherence becomes urgent without becoming anxious. Epictetus proposed measuring every act by its alignment with the rational and social nature of the human being. Your compass is that measure applied to your day, an ethics within reach of your hand. If you share life with others, make it common language. 3 visible values per team and protocols to back them up. It is not enough to write them on a wall. They must be used when the ship rocks. The first time will hurt, the third will bring relief, the fifth will consolidate a culture. There is no collective shielding without a collective compass. When you doubt whether such precision is worth it, remember the cost of incoherence, moral fatigue, growing cynicism, relationships that lose trust, voices that rise only to wound. The compass is cheap in comparison. It requires no extraordinary talent. It requires daily honesty. That small honesty repeated raises walls unseen, yet supporting everything else. End the day with a minimal gesture. Choose one decision taken today and run the compass over it. Ask if it honored your values. If yes, celebrate quietly. If not, correct tomorrow's plan. That review of minutes is worth hours of peace. And tomorrow, on waking, look again at your triangle as one checks instruments before flight. From that habit is born a shielding that does not thunder, but withstands the storm. This is the kind of humble practice that, repeated without noise, becomes character and protects your peace. This is the kind of humble practice that, repeated without noise, becomes character and protects your peace. Fifth Stoic rule: design the architecture of your environment. Designing the architecture of your environment is deciding that your character will have external allies. A will alone grows weary. A will supported by good structures endures. If you want to shield your mind, place objects, screens, lights, and schedules in positions that favor your purpose. Marcus Aurelius thanked his teachers for the habits that shaped him. They were pieces of moral architecture. Your desk, your phone, and your doors can also become silent teachers. Start with the desk. A clear surface does not make you an ascetic. It makes you agile. Remove what does not serve the task and keep only what is necessary at hand. When your sight does not stumble, your mind accelerates without rushing. Visual clarity lowers baseline noise. Seneca distrusted luxury that hinders. Aesthetic accumulation may be another form of distraction. Sober beauty aids judgment. Excess disperses it. Orchestrate the screens. Place your phone out of sight during focus. Disable unnecessary notifications. Define charging spots away from the bedroom. Use do not disturb modes in segments and, if you can, a physical device to mark context, like a watch or a timer. It is not technological fetishism, it is attention engineering. Architecture should invite you into single focus and let you leave it with dignity. Take care of the lights. Broad and clear light for creating, warm and soft light for closing the day. Your pupils are gates that affect your mood. At nightfall, lower intensity to signal the body that the city closes its gates. Epictetus spoke of training disposition. The right light wins half the victory at bedtime. If you sleep better, you react less. Distribute points of pause, a chair by a window, a rug where you stretch, a cup you use only when you need to slow down. These places and objects anchor gestures. When you use them, your body understands the message. Architecture saves you inner debates and lends you habits that, repeated, become second nature. Organize entries and exits. What arrives without a filter disorganizes the city. Set up a single inbox for papers and a separate schedule to process them. Separate the space for thinking from the space for storing. Keep writing tools within reach to draft before acting. An environment that forces everything to mix makes you reactive. An environment that separates gives you choice. Adjust sound. Silence is an ally, but not always possible. Keep white noise, music without lyrics, or natural sounds at hand. Avoid playlists with abrupt changes. Music can be a wall that softens the marketplace inside and outside. Marcus Aurelius sought corners of stillness in the midst of campaign. You can create them with small soundscapes. Mind ergonomics. A firm chair, back supported, screen at eye level, hands free from unnecessary tension. An uncomfortable body produces irritation, and irritation seeks victims. Architecture that cares for the body protects the mind. It is not luxury. It is prevention of emotional fires. Dignity begins with how you sit to face your task. Reserve spaces of sky, a balcony, a rooftop, a nearby park. Step out to look far and recalibrate your inner barometer. A mind confined to square meters reacts more easily. Open air reduces obsession and widens perspective. Seneca admired those who could live with little. Part of that little is a piece of sky. Do not forget the bedroom threshold. Where you sleep is the main wall. Remove screens, preserve darkness, lower temperature, keep your phone outside. We will set up a sleep guard in another rule, but architecture begins here. Proper rest saves you 100 reactions the next day. The world becomes less irritating when you sleep well. Turn drawers into declarations, a drawer of focus tools, paper, pen, timer, glasses, a drawer of retreat, sleep mask, earplugs, unloading notebook. That division reminds you there are modes of being. Being for producing, being for organizing, being for closing. Architecture teaches you to change posture without persuading yourself every time. Adjust physical doors as if they were mental doors. A closed door means you are at work. A half-open door invites but limits. An open door receives. This clear language reduces domestic and workplace friction. Architectural clarity prevents resentment from interruptions and guilt from isolation. Shielding is not cutting ties, it is agreeing on codes. Protect the kitchen of your attention. If your energy is decided there, organize it like a workshop. Visibility of water, fruit and real food. Invisibility of ultra-processed goods and stimulants that rob you later. The mind reacts less when the body avoids unnecessary spikes. Epictetus suggested choosing what nourishes your human craft. The kitchen is a place of daily choice. Build rituals of opening and closing. A candle you light to begin focus. A short phrase to end the day. A walk that marks the change of role. The architecture of time supports the architecture of space. Your mind thanks rituals because they tell it where each chapter begins and ends. Thus, it reacts less and responds better. In the end, review the work like a craftsman. What obstacle did you remove today? What piece made life simpler? What noise still slips in? You do not seek perfection, you seek flow. The architecture of the environment is not a finished project. It is a workshop in progress. Keep adjustments alive, and the citadel will return less friction, more clarity, and that silent elegance that is recognized without a sign. When your mind is not shielded, any comment, news or gesture pierces it. You live exposed to noise, to others' opinions, to distractions that drain your energy and leave you without direction. And if you do nothing, that fragility becomes your way of living. Always alert, always exhausted, always vulnerable. That is why subscribing is no small gesture. It is your decision to build internal walls that protect what is most valuable: your attention, your clarity, and your peace. Here you will not find empty phrases or passing theories. Here you will receive, every week, Stoic tools to apply these 10 rules and turn your mind into a conscious fortress. Not subscribing means continuing to let others decide for you, letting your focus break at the slightest noise, letting your life remain an open field for anxiety and dispersion. Subscribing means having a stable refuge, a voice that reminds you that you can govern your interior, that serenity is trained, and that your dignity is not negotiable. If you recognize these signs in yourself, do not ignore this moment, because the truth is harsh. Mental shielding is not built with good intentions. It is built with decisions. And this is one of them. Do it now. Subscribe. Because each episode can be that rule, that perspective, or that exercise that prevents your mind from being left defenseless again. Your life was not made to react to everything. It was made to live with firmness, clarity, and virtue. 6th Stoic rule: apply mandatory emotional latency. Mandatory emotional latency is an internal law that protects your decisions when your blood runs hot. It consists of deliberately inserting a pause between what you feel and what you do, so that reason speaks before impulse. It is not cowardice, it is governance. Epictetus taught to delay assent until the impression was examined. Latency institutionalizes that examination. Marcus Aurelius gave himself pauses to contemplate the nature of things. You will do the same with a gentle clock and a clear intention. Start by defining your latencies by type of situation. For difficult messages, 10 minutes. For financial decisions, 24 hours. For public corrections, a short walk and water. For family arguments, a night if possible. You do not need to justify your delay to the world. You need to honor it. Seneca warned that anger is hurried and that courage is slow. Your latency embodies that courage that looks again before stepping forward. Latency is not passive silence. It is an activity of clarification. During the wait, you breathe through your nose 3 times, write a draft with facts, emotion, intention and proposal, and ask whether what you wrote will represent you well tomorrow. That triad cools the blood and organizes the language. Sometimes you will discover nothing needs to be sent at all. Other times that your message fits in half the words and double the respect. For it to work in the heat of the moment, latency must be ritualized. Choose an object that reminds you of it, a ring to turn, a card with your values, a keyword whispered under your breath. That automatic gesture opens the moat between stimulus and response. It does not depend on being in a philosophical mood, it depends on protocol. Pilots do not decide whether to go through the checklist. They do it. You will do your latency. Tend to your environment during the wait. If you stay where you were triggered, the mind returns to the ring. Move elsewhere, change the view, breathe different air, wash your hands. The body is the soul's ally. Physiology supports ethics. If the jaw relaxes, words lose their sharpness. If shoulders drop, judgment rises. That bodily intelligence lends serenity to your compass of values. Train latency for the good as well. Excessive euphoria can make you promise more than you can deliver. Buy what you do not need. Say yes when you should evaluate. The pause does not cool joy. It centers it. Tempered enthusiasm produces better works than frenzy. Virtue resides in measure. Define exceptions clearly. There are emergencies that cannot wait. Latency is not a dogma that paralyzes you. It is a general rule with honest exceptions. Life-threatening risk, real fire, immediate danger. In everything else, waiting makes you fairer. You will remember Seneca's image. He who is irritated by everything is just in nothing. He who responds to everything immediately rarely responds well. Track your pauses. Record when you honored them and when you betrayed them. Observe the results. You will see that conversations which pass through latency tend to end with less resentment and more agreement. You will see that emails written after sleeping sound like someone you like to be. You will see that boundaries set with a day's distance weigh more than shouts in the moment. Share the rule with those who matter. Say at home or at work that, when upset, you will ask for time before responding. It is not evasion, it is commitment to the quality of the bond. That transparency protects the other from your froth and you from your pride. Over time, latency will become a shared habit and the culture will be less reactive. Avoid common traps. One is using latency as silent punishment. It is not. If you withdraw, say when you will return. Another is turning it into an excuse not to decide. It is not. Latency has a closing time. After the interval, you choose. Finally, beware of filling the wait with poison, rumination, gossip, fantasies of revenge. Healthy latency feeds on clarity, not gasoline. Integrate your compass into the wait. Ask what justice, temperance, and prudence would do in this scene. Latency is a bridge to those values. If at the end you cannot find a gesture that honors them, wait a little longer or seek counsel from someone sensible. Epictetus recommended conversing with people who love virtue. Sometimes a sober voice outside prevents fires inside. Recognize the physical signs that call for latency: clenched jaw, hot chest, restless fingers, urgency to write. They are noble alarms. Thank them. They warn you that the autopilot wants to take off without a flight plan. Your rule tells you, stop, review, decide with honor. When you obey that signal, you turn biology into ethics. Practice micro-latencies throughout the day: 3 seconds before answering a question, 1 breath before giving an opinion, a sip of water before saying no or yes. These small delays reduce the number of times you regret. You will find yourself saying less and meaning more, asking for time without guilt, listening with a quality that opens paths. Latency also has a place in deep joy and sorrow. When you receive good news, take a few minutes before posting, sharing first with your intimate circle. When loss arrives, do not rush to say things pain does not need. Dignity at the extremes is sustained with pauses that honor what has been lived. At the end of the day, evaluate a scene that went through the rule. What changed thanks to the delay? What did you avoid? What did you build? Be grateful for that difference. You will not see fireworks, you will see peace, and that is the sign that latency not only prevents harm, it produces a more livable life for you and those around you. Tomorrow you will practice again, not for perfection, but for love of your inner governance. 7th Stoic rule: create a non-exposure list. A non-exposure list is not a blacklist, it is an agreement of care. It is about precisely identifying which topics, people, and digital spaces intoxicate your judgment and disturb your mood in order to reduce their frequency and dose. It is not cowardly escape, it is strategic hygiene. Marcus Aurelius recommended distancing oneself from petty conversations because they undermine the health of the soul. Not because the world is the enemy, but because the mind needs atmospheres where its best version can flourish. Start by observing your peaks of reactivity. What kind of news ignites you without giving you power to act? What thread of comments leaves you cynical? What profile provokes envy or disdain? Name them without hatred. The non-exposure list is born from that serene honesty that recognizes triggers and decides dosage. Epictetus insisted on guarding the gate of assent. Your list is that gatekeeper with a registry in hand. Classify in 3 columns: information you must know for your work or civic life, information that entertains you without stealing your peace, and content that makes you worse. To the first, give a window and a schedule. To the second, a fair portion. To the third, distance. Seneca warned that often we suffer ahead of time or more than necessary because of an undisciplined imagination. Non-exposure disciplines that imagination so it does not govern you. With people, the list does not seek to condemn, but to regulate presence. There are voices that elevate you, voices that distract you, and voices that corrode you. To the first, a seat at your table. To the second, meetings with limits. To the third, respect and boundaries. You can love someone and at the same time dose their influence on your mood. The Stoic does not hate. He manages contact to protect virtue and purpose. Define clear thresholds. If a topic robs you of sleep, remove it from the last hour of the day. If a conversation always leads to offense, shift it to a more sober format and to a time when you have strength. If a group organizes itself around gossip, you will not argue with its identity. You will leave quietly. Your list is not a manifesto for evangelizing. It is a map to move without burning yourself. Write the rules down. By seeing them, your mind stops negotiating case by case. For example, do not open news comments after 8 p.m. Do not discuss politics in work chats. Do not enter profiles that exploit my vanity. Do not check personal metrics upon waking. Do not accept invitations that contradict my values, even if prestigious. These phrases are guardrails. They save you from yourself when impulse wants to take command. Anticipate the internal objection. Won't I become ignorant if I stop exposing myself? The answer is no, if you replace toxic exposure with nourishing exposure. Choose serious sources, conversations with criteria, and real experiences. The purpose is not to live in a bubble, it is to clean the air so you can think better. Marcus Aurelius repeated that truth does not need to shout. Seek places where it speaks clearly. Practice active non-exposure. If a certain person monopolizes the subject that corrodes you, propose different ground and see if they accept. If you always get trapped in the same discussions, arrive with framework questions. What goal do we share? What data do we have? What decision is at stake? If the talk insists on the mud, withdraw with a brief phrase, "I will protect my attention so I can contribute better." It is not superiority, it is loyalty to your inner work. Include the physical. Some environments heat the mind, noise, harsh lights, disorder. Limit them when you can and prepare when you cannot. Carry water, headphones, a notebook. Create a small portable refuge. Non-exposure is not only digital or social, it is also sensory. An irritated body thinks worse and reacts faster. Protecting it is protecting your judgment. Use the list to define necessary pauses. If a recurring meeting always ends in theatre, aim to attend every other week or shorten the time. If certain topics always erupt at the end of the day and ruin rest, move them to morning or afternoon. The calendar is a weapon of shielding. Seneca would call this governance of time, giving each thing its place so it does not invade what does not belong to it. Do not turn the list into a weapon against others. It is an instrument of self-government, not a certificate to despise. Speak of your boundaries as care that allows you to serve better, not as moral superiority. The Stoic measure is firm without shrillness. Those who love you will understand, and those who do not will at least grasp your rules of play. Update the record each month. Some things that hurt you yesterday may no longer have power. New ones will appear. Your citadel is alive. If you improve your temperance, you can expose yourself a little more without falling. If you are under pressure, you will reduce exposure for a time. The list is not static. It is an instrument tuned to your life. Remember that not seeing does not mean denying reality. You choose channels, moments, and doses to relate to it in a way that allows you to act. Epictetus would say, you use impressions in your favor and not the other way around. The opposite of non-exposure is saturation that numbs. We do not want ignorance, we want breathable lucidity. Celebrate the quiet fruits. You will notice less resentment after browsing, less echo of others' phrases when you fall asleep, less need to prove yourself in conversations where you once burned. That new air is not emptiness. It is space for choice. With it, you will respond better to what truly depends on you and stop giving away your life to provocation. Finally, name the underlying reason. You make this list out of loyalty to your loyalties, to your virtue, to your craft, to your family, to your health. You are not fleeing the world. You are preparing a heart capable of being in it without losing itself. Memento mori lends the right gravity. Time is finite. You will not want to waste it in reactions shaped by others when you can spend it in works shaped by your soul. 8th Stoic rule, install a sleep guard. Installing a sleep guard is shielding the main gate of your citadel. Whoever sleeps poorly reacts easily, decides clumsily, and forgets quickly. Whoever sleeps with dignity regains command. It is not about worshipping the pillow, but about putting rest at the service of virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote that he must rise even though the bed called him, because he was born to act. Rising also means having slept enough to act well. The sleep guard begins long before closing your eyes. The last hour of the day is a sanctuary. Low lights, screens away, sober words. If the phone is your last face, it will also be your first master upon waking. Epictetus recommended arranging life according to nature. Night calls for darkness, stillness, and reasonable silence. If you obey that nature, the soul lowers its volume and the body finds its rhythm. Define a brief and repeatable closing ritual. Tidy the space in 3 gestures. Jot down what is pending on paper. Choose a simple intention for tomorrow. That triangle cleans, empties, and directs. The brain stops searching for solutions at midnight because it has a note promising to resume them. Seneca said that the care of the soul is also administration. Administering the closure prevents the mind from becoming a night market. Take care of the environment. Real darkness or an eye mask, cool temperature, bed free of devices, curtains blocking leaks of light. If you live with noise, prepare earplugs or a uniform sound source. This small engineering multiplies your temperance the next day. A discussion that would have set your house ablaze yesterday will tomorrow ask for a conversation. The difference is rest. Establish intake rules. Avoid late caffeine and heavy meals. Reduce alcohol, which dulls but does not restore. Drink water with measure, not so much that you rise 10 times. The body is not the enemy of your soul. It is its ally. If you treat it with respect, it lends you margin. If you mistreat it, it will charge you with reactivity. Shielding the mind requires protecting this silent workshop. If worries intrude, give them passage. A discharge page before bed gathers the buzzing. Write plainly what troubles you and one modest next step for tomorrow. Store the page outside the bedroom. It is not magic, it is the logistics of calm. Paper serves as a chest. The room returns to being a temple. Set a realistic bedtime and wake-up time, even on weekends. It is not punishment, it is rhythm. Those who sleep like permanent tourists lose their compass. The body loves predictability. When it knows what is coming, it cooperates. If life demands shifting schedules, at least protect the last hour as a territory without invasion. The guard also decides whom it admits at night's door. Avoid complex discussions, shrill news, and blue screens before sleep. Replace them with gentle reading, kind conversation, low breathing. A minute of sincere gratitude resets your mood. What yesterday demanded war may today only ask for moderation. Marcus Aurelius closed the day with a sober review. You can imitate him without solemnity. If insomnia appears, do not turn the bed into a battlefield. Rise, change the setting, read something light with warm light, return when the body loosens. Anxiety about sleep prevents sleep. Treat night as you treat day, with prudence and temperance. Accept that there will be difficult seasons. The guard does not promise perfection, it promises persistent care. Take care of awakenings. Do not begin with shocks. If you can, reserve 5 minutes of margin. Water, nasal breathing, a phrase that recalls your values. Waking in haste is signing permission to react. Waking with order is remembering that your citadel opens its gates when you decide. That initial gesture colors the entire day. Train those who live with you. The sleep guard strengthens when the household shares codes. Agree that in the last hour volume lowers and screens go off. Agree that the bedroom is a work-free zone. Ask for respect for that sanctuary. It is not rigid, it is kind. A rested family argues less and repairs better. Recognize the relationship between sleep and ethics. Lack of sleep shortens the fuse and enlarges susceptibility. A word you would have tolerated in the afternoon, at dawn seems an insult. Whoever protects their rest not only cares for themselves but shields others from the worst side of them. Seneca said that anger finds open doors in tired bodies. Close those doors with habits. Use science as an ally of common sense. Exposure to natural light in the morning, daily movement, stable schedules, short or no naps depending on your response. You do not need quantifying obsession, you need constancy. The sleep guard is more craftsmanship than laboratory. You adjust, observe, repeat. Connect the guard with finitude. Memento mori gives perspective. You do not want to gift your days to the clumsiness of having slept poorly by whim. Sleeping with dignity allows you to respond with the music of virtue. Whoever rules their night arrives at the day with a serene voice. That voice does not seek applause, it seeks truth and good. Lastly, make the guard an act of self-love and shared love. Going to bed on time does not make you boring, it makes you available. Waking with rest does not make you slow, it makes you precise. Each well-guarded night is an invisible brick in the wall. If one falls, do not dramatize, rebuild at dusk. The guard does not sleep. It learns with you and keeps you whole for what matters. Ninth Stoic rule: manage your economy of attention. Managing your economy of attention is deciding where you invest your scarcest resource. This is not a metaphor. Every focus has a cost. Every task switch pays a toll. Whoever believes they can split themselves without loss deceives themselves and ends up drained. Whoever accepts limits manages their energy better. Marcus Aurelius distributed his day by duties, not because he was a slave to schedule, but because he was master of his purpose. Work in single focus blocks with clear breaks. Choose one task, close the door to everything else, and promise yourself you will reopen it once the block is done. The mind trusts when it knows there will be return. Epictetus insisted on doing well what lies before you. Single focus is that insistence applied to time. It does not aspire to endless heroics. It aspires to sober continuity. Define the length of your blocks according to the task and your state. 20, 40, or 90 minutes may suit different contexts. Mark the start with a brief ritual, a phrase, a clock, a breath. Mark the end with a mini review and a physical closure of the material. That start and finish turn minutes into chapters and chapters into work. During breaks, do not jump into the whirlwind. Walk, stretch, drink water, gaze afar, jot an idea. Avoid screens that trigger reward circuits. Resting means switching activity to something that does not compete with your focus. If you turn rest into another stimulus, you will come back more restless than before. The economy of attention demands true repose. Group tasks by nature to save on context switching. Batch calls, group replies, process paperwork together. Every transition fragments and charges a commission. Seneca said one cannot reach port without a course. Here the course is reducing the day's zigzag. With straighter routes, you travel further with less fuel. Create wall hours to protect the essential. These are segments of the day shielded from interruptions. If possible, place them always in the same slot so your environment recognizes them. During that time, the phone rests outside, email waits, and messages pile up guilt-free. What truly builds your life happens there. This is not contempt for the rest. It is priority. Practice focus accounting. At the day's close, record how many real blocks you completed, what broke them, and what sustained them, not to punish, but to adjust. You will see patterns, meetings that could have been emails, notifications you can silence, habits that should be moved. This accounting is not obsession, it is mastery. Train those around you. Communicate your response windows and your wall hours. Do not promise constant speed, promise predictable quality. People who work with you will learn to wait where it is worth it and to ask with clarity. The economy of attention is also the education of the ecosystem. An aligned environment multiplies your energy. Keep your board in order. Having more than 3 matters in sight at once overwhelms the channel. If urgencies arise, decide with criteria: impact, deadline, cost of delay. Consciously choose to switch blocks when the greater good calls, not when anxiety orders it. The pilot decides, not the turbulence. Avoid emotional multitasking, listening and defending at once, reading and comparing at once, working and arguing at once. These overlaps burn. If a conversation drags you down, acknowledge that it is not the right time for fine tasks. Switch to maintenance, tidying, cleaning, filing. When your mood levels, return to precision work. Manage attention also in leisure. Scattered rest does not restore, deliberate rest does. Choose pleasures that fill instead of draining. Whole music, unhurried reading, a body that moves, present friends. It is not solemnity. It is ensuring you return with charge, not with debt. Protect your energy from empty metrics. Checking numbers every few minutes only feeds anxiety. Set moments to review indicators and decide concrete actions from them. The rest of the time, work. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the neighbor may say what they like. Your work is yours. Your metrics are compass, not a capricious god. Connect this economy with your visible values. If your compass says justice, dedicate blocks to recognizing and supporting others. If it says temperance, avoid promises that break your schedule. If it says prudence, reserve time to think before committing. Attention becomes moral when put at the service of what you love. Accept that there will be twisted days. Do not destroy the system because one day failed. Restart the next with a gentle block and begin adding again. The economy is not judged by one expense, but by balance. Epictetus would advise looking at the overall use of your impressions. Do the same with your time. Lastly, remember finitude. Memento mori reminds you that you do not own the total of your days, but you do own the use of each portion given to you. I do not ask for heroics, but for awareness. Managing your economy of attention is an act of love for your purpose and for those who depend on your best version. Whoever protects their focus protects their peace, and whoever protects their peace responds better to the world. 10th Stoic rule: take inventory of loyalties. Fortifying the mind culminates when you clearly decide whom and what you serve. An inventory of loyalties clarifies the internal order: first virtue, then work, then the bonds that safeguard your life and that of those close to you. Without such an inventory, the citadel fills with foreign flags, and, without noticing, you end up obeying causes you never chose. Marcus Aurelius often asked himself whether what he was about to do belonged to the social and rational man he wished to be. That question is a balance. What honors your inner duty stays, what betrays it goes. Begin by writing down the names of your major loyalties: virtue, the excellence of acting well even when no one sees; work, the labor that demands precision and service; family, the people to whom you promised care; health, the instrument that sustains everything else; community, the circle you share and improve. This order is not identical for everyone, but it requires definition for you. Without a map, urgencies decide for you and replace your judgment. When looking at your schedule, ask whether it reflects these loyalties or whether it only tells the story of your reactions. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it, wrote Marcus Aurelius. Your appointments and your silences reveal what you believe about life. If there is no time for work, family feeds on scraps. If there is no time for health, virtue limps. If there is no time for community, the self grows narrow and harsh. Adjust with deeds, not with promises. Epictetus advised remembering who you want to be before entering the arena. The inventory restores that memory. Enter conversations and tasks from the loyalty you have chosen. If you serve justice, you will not accept advantages that humiliate. If you serve temperance, you will not buy applause with noise. If you serve prudence, you will not confuse speed with accuracy. Choosing sometimes hurts, but it saves you from more costly regrets. Seneca warned that it is not that we have little time, but that we waste much. The inventory is a defense against such waste. Review each week whether your primary loyalty received true hours or only intentions. You cannot serve everything with equal intensity. You must prefer. Preference is not contempt. It is placing weight where it sustains. From that preference arises an adult peace. The inventory teaches you to say yes and no with your own music. You say yes when a task supports your tripod of loyalties. You say no when it threatens to break it. Aggression is unnecessary. Clarity is enough. A lukewarm yes that betrays your compass sickens the citadel. A sober no that protects your priorities cleanses the climate and keeps you available for the essential. Give your loyalties a language to remember them in the heat of the moment. Short, breathable phrases. Virtue: I act rightly even when it costs. Work: I do the important before the urgent. Family, I am present without a screen. Health, I guard sleep and food with sobriety. Community, I contribute without expecting a chorus. This intimate lexicon becomes a discreet guard at the gate of your actions. Observe conflicts between loyalties without drama. Sometimes your work asks hours you subtract from family. Sometimes family needs your presence and work must wait. Prudence seeks balance, not perfection. The inventory lets you rotate focus without late regrets. Today I serve here, tomorrow I serve there, always without betraying the virtue that governs all. Beware of false loyalties. Prestige can disguise itself as work, complacency as kindness, distraction as rest, addiction as passion. Unmasking them demands honest language. Ask, does this make me better or only make me visible? Does it serve the whole or feed my vanity? Marcus Aurelius reduced things to their nature to see clearly. Imitate him with your commitments. Honor the small loyalties that uphold the great ones. A short walk with someone you love, an email of recognition, a glass of water before another cup of coffee, a silent donation, a consultation with someone wiser, a gentle limit for someone who pushes. These gestures are lintels unseen, yet they keep the house standing when the wind blows. Use the inventory to heal relationships. Sometimes you are loyal to your wound and not to the person. You confused pride with justice, self-demand with excellence, resignation with prudence. The inventory invites you to ask forgiveness without humiliation and to forgive without giving up limits. The first loyalty is to truth, not to the story that shields you. At work, clarity of loyalties accelerates decisions. If the project shines but degrades people, it is worthless. If it fills with money but empties of meaning, it is worthless. If it makes you indispensable at the cost of extinguishing others, it is worthless. Epictetus would say you sold your freedom for a trinket. The citadel is paid for with elegant renunciations. They are cheap compared to the cost of chronic cynicism. Remember loyalty to your future self. Ask whether what you do today will make you proud tomorrow. Seneca urged, living as if each day were a whole life. That sober perspective reduces procrastination and tames perfectionism. You do the best you can with the time you have, with goodwill and a measure that does not warp under haste or vanity. The inventory is not a table of commandments, it is a compass tested on the march. At the end of the day, review where you were faithful and where you drifted by inertia. Correct with tenderness and precision. The citadel matures when the gaze becomes just, neither blind to failure nor merciless with one who fails. Thus grows a character that knows whom it serves, and therefore knows what it renounces. Lastly, ground this inventory in finitude. Memento mori restores proportion. The world was not given to you to react to everything, but to act upon the good that is yours to do. Your loyalties are the concrete form of that good. When in doubt, return to Marcus Aurelius's initial question. Does this belong to the man I want to be? If the answer is yes, enter. If not, open the exit door and continue your way with a serene heart. Citadel in motion. You have raised blueprints, gates and guards. Now it is time to inhabit the citadel. Fortifying your mind does not mean living defensively. It means living face to face with what is essential. If before you were at the mercy of every stimulus, now you choose. If before your day was a hallway where everyone ran, now it is a square with law and music of its own. This episode does not give you an amulet, it gives you a craft. And like every craft, it is learned by working, brick by brick, conversation by conversation, silence by silence. I want to propose a practical alliance. Subscribing to this podcast is not a decorative gesture. It is your decision to have, every week, a shared guard shift. Here you will receive reminders that lower your activation, short exercises that sustain your compass of values, perspectives that reframe drama so you can choose with temperance. We do not sell miracles. We practice inner laws that make life more livable. The benefit is concrete. fewer reactions that break bridges, more responses that build work and bonds. Imagine the next 30 days with a companion who whispers to you in time, fact first, opinion after. Breathe before you write. Look from above. Remember whom you serve. That fine thread prevents fires that once left ashes on your tongue and cracks in your schedule. As Epictetus would say, you do not control what arrives at the door, you control the use you make of your judgments. This space is a school of that use, discreet, repeatable, human. It is also a refuge, not a hiding place, but a place to breathe and order again. When the market shouts, when the algorithm pushes, when pride asks for applause, here you will remember that your dignity does not depend on that noise. Seneca warned us that life escapes us when we spend time on what has no measure. Subscribing is reserving a stretch of clean air in your week to train what truly sustains you. Perhaps you will hesitate. Perhaps a voice will say you can do it alone, that 2 underlined phrases are enough. That voice is sometimes right and sometimes sabotages you. Constancy rarely appears without structure. The subscription sets a compass in your calendar, an appointment with yourself and with a community that also chooses to be fortified. No one becomes free without effort, Marcus Aurelius might say, remembering his own rigor. Shared effort becomes lighter and, above all, more joyful. I invite you to make this decision with sobriety, not to live shut away, but to live available, precise, just. Each episode grounds a rule in real scenes, how to set limits without harshness, how to listen without losing yourself, how to rest without guilt, how to negotiate without selling peace, how to distinguish what you control without falling into indifference. There are no ornaments, there is craft, and every craft practiced gives back time, clarity, and a serenity that does not depend on the outside weather. If you do not subscribe, you will still have flashes of lucidity, but they will have less frequency and less support. This is not a threat, it is intimate statistics. The autopilot wins when training is sporadic. Subscribing, on the other hand, offers you a weekly point of support to remember that your citadel exists and deserves maintenance. It is not a club of perfection, it is a workshop of inner governance. I want you to hear the benefit in your tomorrow's language. Fewer apologies for words spoken in haste, fewer nights scorched by screens, fewer arguments over predictable misunderstandings, more air in your chest before answering, more focus in the hours that matter, more limits set in time with respect. These results are not spectacular, they are sustainable, and what is sustainable day after day changes a life. Subscribing is quietly affirming, my mind belongs to me, my attention has an owner, my loyalties are clear. It is saying no to easy provocation and yes to gentle discipline. It is turning philosophy into breathable practice. Epictetus was blunt. Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do. We add the next step, and choose your response from what you love to serve. And if there is still a trace of doubt, look at it with kindness. Perhaps it comes from fatigue or from disappointments with hollow promises. Here there will be no smoke. There will be short exercises, language without theatre, and sober beauty. There will be community without clamour and learning without dogma. There will be moments of rigour and moments of tenderness. The only thing we ask is presence. Bring your breath, your paper, your willingness to practice. At the end of this episode, give yourself a small gesture that marks the beginning of your alliance. Write your inventory of loyalties and paste your 3 visible values where you can see them tomorrow. Install your first sleep guard tonight. Close a door that distracts you. Choose 1 block of monofocus for what matters. And when you feel the first fruit of that order, come and tell us. Here we celebrate what works because we want it to work for you. If you already know this path does you good, do it now. Subscribe. Not out of haste, but out of clarity. 1 click does not change a life, but 1 sustained decision does. I will be here each week with studies, examples, scripts to practice, and the same commitment to protect you from noise and return you to governance. You will be here with your constancy. Together we will make the citadel a living house. The city will not be free of storms, but your architecture will withstand them better. There will be arguments that end in agreements, messages that will need no reply, nights that will return to being rest, days that will finally enter their channel. That is the reasonable promise. Less friction, more honor, more availability to love and to work. Subscribing is a yes spoken to that promise. Before we say goodbye, take a breath through your nose and let it out slowly. Repeat quietly the motto with which we opened this cycle. Fact first, opinion after. You will open the door tomorrow, knowing what you are loyal to and what you are not. And when the inner or outer market shouts at you, you will remember that you are the sentinel of your city. If you want that sentinel to have reinforcements, you will find them here. Thank you for walking this far. We will meet at the next guard. Subscribe and bring with you someone who needs less reaction and more governance. We will not make noise, we will make work. And in time, you will see that fortification does not separate you from the world. It prepares you to serve it with an intact heart and a mind at peace. Your voice is essential here. Every reflection strengthens and elevates our community, reflecting the true value of each individual and contributing to our shared Stoic identity. The reflection that receives the most support will be set as the standard of this community of Stoic minds. A community that does not flee from pain but walks through it with courage, with wisdom, with honor. We will see each other in our next gathering at Stoicism for Winners, where we will continue exploring the riches of Stoic wisdom applied to modern life. Now, take the opportunity to deepen your Stoic practice with new recommended podcast sessions. Follow us so you don't miss any reflection that could help you at just the moment when everything feels overwhelming. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we publish episodes designed to accompany you when life feels heavy, when it's hard to stay calm, when you need a word to remind you who you are. Not following us is to risk missing exactly that lesson that could bring back the peace you have been seeking. Until we meet again, remember, you are the sole owner of your perception, the creator of your peace, and the warrior of your own battle. This is the legacy of Stoicism, the art of being invincible.